It's live on Facebook on the Holistic Training Institute page. It'll just be starting in 1 second there. All right, I want to welcome everybody onto this call. And I'm Dr. Jesse Brown. I'm a traditional naturopath, and I'll be sharing information with you all today on the use of castor oil. So I'm going to give some history and some background on castor oil, what it is, what it does, its reputation for health and healing over millennia, actually, for a very long time, and what it may do for you. Now, as a precautionary note, this is not to diagnose, not to prescribe, not to tell anybody that, especially if you have a chronic condition or health condition. I'm not saying don't see your doctor, don't follow your doctor's advice. However, I'm going to harken back to the history on natural remedies, and that's part of what I do through Holistic Training Institute, what I've been teaching and what I've been learning over more than 30 years. And just kind of sharing the things that we can do for ourselves. This is about empowerment. And empowerment means that we have the responsibility, the right and responsibility to make choices for ourselves in terms of our health care. And many of the chronic ailments and things that we have are as a result of diet and lifestyle and our behaviors. So when we know what to do, then we can apply first aid, and we can apply food, nutrition, herbs, and many of the old wives' tales. Some people call it old wives' tales, but I call it old wise tales. The things that were passed along from generation to generation from Africa throughout the diaspora, the things that have kept us healthy over the waters, over the years, and it brought us to this place. And we know that modern medicine alone can't do it all. Your doctor is not with you most of the time, and healthcare workers cannot. There's no healthcare worker that is tethered to everyone. So it's up to us to take care of ourselves, take care of our health and our well-being for our personally, and for those that we love and care for. I believe that we need healers in every home, in every family, in every community, in every place, and that healthcare, much of that can be delivered right where we are. So whether that's at home, whether that's in our places of worship, we are going to learn things that we can apply very quickly, readily, and oftentimes inexpensively. So today's focus is going to be on the use of the castor oil pack, and I may speak to or allude to some of the herbs and things that can go along with that as well. In some respects, castor oil may even be considered an herb or a medicinal product in the more general sense, but it's got a history. So I want to share some information on that. It goes back to at least 1500 BC, and that is in the physician's tomb in the Ebers Papyrus, if anybody wants to look that up. And the use of the oil of the castor bean was described for cosmetic and medicinal purposes. So some people use it for beauty. I'm not going to be talking about it so much for your skin and your hair and nails and those types of things, as much as the medicinal applications for castor oil. Okay. So, and there's a lot of information that's out there, and I've reviewed a number of the videos, and I've heard people, and sometimes I'm appalled at what I've heard and what I've seen. And if kind of fast forward a bit, there was, since its use and popularization in Egypt, in ancient Egypt, and in more modern times, there was someone named Edgar Cayce, who was called the sleeping prophet, and some even call him the father of holistic medicine, who spoke to and made a lot of recommendations on the use of castor oil. So most of what you see, most of the the medicinal attributes about castor oil that you'll see online came from a man named Edgar Casey. So, and he described it for a number of different conditions. I'm going to focus on primarily about 4 different systems of the body, because I look at this more is this a systems approach than symptoms or naming diseases and saying that it's that X, Y, or Z is good for a disease, as opposed to a system of the body. Because when you look at the systems and we correct and help the body systems that are being challenged, then we'll have more of a holistic and a different type of approach. Now, I also want to share that castor oil, any herb, any product does not stand alone. So in terms of a holistic approach or a more complete approach or protocol, it's not just what you do some of the time or one thing that you do, it's a combination of those things. So along with doing remedies and taking natural remedies, what we eat, what we drink, if we exercise, how we live, if we're getting enough sun, if we supplement, if we our relationships, all of that really makes a difference in terms of our overall health and well-being. So castor oil is just a part of that and part of the bigger picture. So let's get to the systems of the body that I'll say that I'm going to emphasize, or that most people have asked me about assisting them in their health and healing. And that's the immune system, the nervous system, the digestive system, and then the musculoskeletal system. Okay, so may allude to a little bit more, but primarily those. So let's start with the immune system. So from colds to cancer, our immune system plays a critical part. The strength of our immune system oftentimes it determines, or to the greatest extent, determines if we're going to get colds and flus and those things. So people who are subject to get sick in the winter or other times, have weakened immune system, are very susceptible to, somebody, if they're in a room and somebody sneezes across the room, they catch it. When people know they have a weak response, then they normally need to build their immune system to the point where they're, as my doctor used to say years ago, their resistance is improved. So that's your body's ability to recognize, respond, remember, and address practically anything that it comes in contact with. Bacteria, viruses, bugs, etc. Okay. So the use of castor oil and the application of castor oil has been applied for the immune system, is considered to be an immune enhancer. Some people may even consider it to be a regulator, but immune system enhancer. And in using that, the application of castor oil packs or castor oil treatment will help a person's resistance to the point where they may notice an alleviation of allergies, congestion, and things that go on in the respiratory system and other parts of the body. We pretty much can all use that because of the condition of the air, the food, the water, our environment. It's bombarding us with all types of toxins. And so as you improve the function of the immune system, the digestive system and other systems of the body upregulate. And when you hear people talking about castor oil, for example, detoxifying the system, then part of that is because it'll stimulate the immune system. It'll help to break up congestion, waste products, and help our lymph, the liquid part of our immune system, to flow, to flush out waste, toxins, and other things that otherwise would cause us to feel ill, weak, tired, and not be able to respond as it could. Okay, so the immune system, and secondly, the digestive system. Okay, so digestive system. You probably have all heard you are what you eat. Well, that's partly true. You are what you eat, what you digest, what you assimilate, what you do or do not eliminate. The functioning of the digestive system is vital to our health and well-being. It's what we eat and how well our body breaks it down and if it eliminates it or not. So castor oil and the castor oil treatments applied to the body are for helping the digestive system to function as it should. Okay. If there are adhesions, if it's functioning slowly. Many people, millions of people have used castor oil, and I'm gonna say externally. Normally don't recommend it internally. There are some internal applications for it where people can take it in drops in small amounts, but not like our mom and grandmom and them took it and gave it to us for, on the spoon. But when we apply that externally, it'll benefit the digestive system, and it is very good for regulating and improving constipation. Okay, the way that works is it soaks in and it lubricates the digestive system. It lubricates the bowels. It stimulates them to function more regularly so that people have good elimination. Because if we're constipated, we're not going to be healthy. It doesn't matter. It's going to show up on the breath. It's going to show up on the body odors. It's going to, and the digestive system and the immune system, our lymphatic system, our lymphatic tissue and immune tissue primarily resides right along with our digestive system. Okay. And that's partly so that if we eat something and we would otherwise get food poisoning or die from something that we ate, it's old, it's tainted, it's got some bacteria, it's got something in it that's not good for us. That if the body can't get rid of it quickly enough, guess what? We would die. We may get diarrhea or other ailments that would cause us to not be able to use and absorb nutrients, and we could succumb to that. And at one point in time in our history, many people died from diarrhea, from getting bad food, from not being able to eliminate those things that would be offensive. Okay, now immune system, digestive system, nervous system. When the castor oil treatment, and I'm going to demonstrate that in just a second as best I can here, is very good for our nervous system as well. Unless we get good rest, sleep, I mean deep sleep, adequate amounts of sleep, our body's not going to heal and repair. So we can eat right, we can exercise, we can do different things, but we also need to rest. And for many of the conditions dealing with the nervous system, castor oil has been very good for that. Okay. And then our bones and joints. So many people, especially folks over 30, 40, 50 years of age, if you haven't had a fall, the part of the aging process and the use of our muscles and joints and all the stress and things that have been going on for many years will oftentimes cause arthritis, bursitis, some type of itis, some type of inflammation with the musculoskeletal system. Castor oil is proven to be a very good lubricant for that. I liken it to the Tin Man on the Wizard of Oz. Okay, the Tin Man would get all, bound up, he would get rusted, so to speak. And that's almost like what arthritis is like. When we don't have fluidity, when we don't have range of motion, we don't have good use of our joints, then sometimes we need somebody to slip us some oil, as they said, or give us some oil. So the oil can, so to speak, is this particular oil, and that's the castor oil, and that can be put on the joints. All right. So I'm going to share with you What you need in order to do these castor oil treatments, and again, I'm going to share that this is information that primarily comes through the KC Institute and the recommendations, and there were over 1,000 recommendations that Edgar Casey gave for various conditions for these systems and other systems that involve the use of castor oil. In fact, there's another name for the castor oil. Sometimes you'll see it written or subtitled Palma Christi, which means from the palm of Christ or the hand of Christ. It's got such a reputation for healing over the centuries that they say it must have been an anointing oil. Now, who said that and when or whatever, I don't know, but I'll tell you, it's been amazing. And with my clients and people that I've consulted with and groups that I've spoken to over the years, I've recommended this pretty much universally. Practically every time that I speak on health, I talk about the use of castor oil. So first of all, so this is an example. There's a bottle. I'm not endorsing any particular brand or sharing any particular brand, but this is what it typically looks like. Kind of golden in color. And the things that you want to look for in a castor oil is one, that is hexane free. Okay, now hexane free, there are a few different ways that you can extract oil from the castor bean: a cold process, heat process, and chemical process. You don't want chemical extraction process, and you don't want the chemicals like hexane in your oil because it's very toxic to the body. It's no good for the liver, and it can cause just as many problems as it would resolve. So one, hexane free. Secondly, there's cold processed, and that means that it's not heat. So heat degrades the quality, the nutrients of the castor oil as well. I generally tend to avoid certain types of stores and go more to, sometimes I'll go online or go to certain stores that I know have high quality products, and I support those. Okay, so hexane free, cold process. There are some that'll say organic as well. That's even better. Some people want to, have it in a brown bottle and that sort of thing. One thing about castor oil is it's very stable. All oils are not that stable, and some of them go rancid pretty quickly. Castor oil is one oil that stays very stable for a relatively long period of time. So when you need your castor oil, the other things that you need are flannel and and I am showing you here. This is, I think this is wool flannel. You can get cotton or wool flannel. This is virgin cotton or wool flannel, and depending on how your screens are, you may see this. It's not white. It's not stark white like a bleached white. It is a little tawny, or it's got a tint in there. So you don't want any flannel that has dyes or bleach that they've used in dyes or bleach, because again, you're going to absorb that. This is when you put the castor oil on that, whatever is on there, whatever is in there is going to be absorbed in your body. So I'm really particular about that. I wouldn't just go to a fabric store unless they had virgin or cotton wool. You can find this online as well. And you're gonna put the cotton. You're gonna put the castor oil on this flannel and apply that to the body. Another thing that you'll need is, now this is a plastic wrap. You can use a large garbage bag or other things, but this is a plastic wrap that you would use to secure the flannel with the castor oil onto the body. You want to keep it in place, and on that you can also. Now I've had this in from the clinic. We would use like these waist trainers or something with this that you would secure the wrap in place. Okay, so it would look something like this. So you would have the flannel. You apply the castor oil to the flannel, and sometimes you double it, or or triplet and place it on the body, put plastic wrap on there, and or secure it in place with this. Okay. So you could use one or the other, or even both. And then on top of that, you use a heating pad. Okay. Starting off on medium, and it can go up into to as high as you can tolerate it. The purpose of that is to help to drive the or deliver the castor oil into the affected area. So it in addition to the body's warmth, it helps to absorb it, because the function of it is to penetrate through the skin into the layers, and then even down to the organs. So that's how it works. That's how it breaks up things. That's how it stimulates the lymphatic system to function. That's how it helps and really gets into those joints. Now, the exception to that is when there is inflammation in the body. So that means if there's redness, if there's swelling, if it's already hot, don't add more heat. You can put on the castor oil and the flannel and wrap it up, but you would not add more heat. Okay. The length of time will tend to be 45 minutes to 90 minutes per application. Sometimes some people will, and there's some accounts where people had it on there longer, but I generally say you don't have it on all night. You may even have on a couple of hours or so. And is some of this is condition dependent, but what we're doing is we're getting the cumulative effect of this. We're stimulating the immune system, putting this on the body, and then taking off. And so I recommend that people do it subsequent days. You may do it 3 or 5 days a week if you have a really chronic condition or something going on. Do it more days as opposed to a much longer time. It's not necessarily that longer is better, especially as I've seen people and I've spoken to people and they turned all the way up on high and they go to sleep, and the next night they got welts or some irritation or something. Allow it to do its work. Allow it to have the cumulative effect of breaking things down as you go. Okay. So the application. So respiratory system, things are going on in the chest, in the breast, up underneath the arms, swelling, boils, those types of things that you want to break down. You put the castor oil on the flannel and place it up in the upper chest area to about the mid section. All right. I've heard some people and seen some people say, oh, all you do is rub a little bit on your belly button, or rub, a little on your belly or a little on your belly button. That's not my understanding. My experience with this is that's not enough. That's not going to absorb this. It's not so powerful that it's just going to absorb through all those layers and knock anything out. Some people may get a little benefit or something from it, but the direct application, the way it's described, the way that it was originally written in the protocols and applied, was that you had it in contact, you had more castor oil in contact with the body for a longer period of time. And by the way, when you do apply it to the flannel, you're applying it to the point where it's saturated but not dripping. It is a thick oil. Okay. Again, it absorbs pretty well, and it stay in contact with the body. You have to clean. You have to have some baking soda to clean up afterwards. But it's going to be penetrating, and when you place it in different places on the body. Okay. So the primary areas upper chest and to even to here. And if you want to, in areas that the flannel is not coming in contact with, if you want to rub it up underneath, underneath your arms or something like that, if you are having some irritation, having some problems or some congestion or something there, if you're feeling some lumps or something, you can, rub it there or add some additional. But there's a primary area because you got some drainage points in the area here that relate to the lymphatic system and helping it to function. And then the next area is the abdominal area. I'm gonna stand this thing, and that would be here. Now you apply the flannel across this area and cover the entire abdomen, and even if you want some to benefit your liver as well, you'd make sure that it extended over to the right side, and that's where the liver resides. And so if you know anything about the liver is an organ of detoxification. It has to filter the blood. So if you're doing some cleansing, detoxification, give the liver some time and attention. There's something that if you want, I'll share some information on something that's called the liver gallbladder flush, but it is a major organ of detoxification, and it's not just going to flush out on its own with all the bombardment with toxicity and air, food, the water, and the foods, fast foods and fake foods, GMOs and all that. We need to give the liver some love as well. And in most conditions, cleansing and assisting the liver in functioning as the best that it can is part of the protocol. Should be part of the protocol. Okay, so liver gallbladder flush, or giving some time, attention to the liver. Now, and then of course, joints. So I'm just going to illustrate here, like on the elbow. So imagine, and of course, you're not going to be dressed when you're doing this. You're not doing this through clothes. But you could take your flannel, and if you have problem, creaky tennis elbow, something going on there, you can place it around, wrap it around there, secure it with your plastic, use a wrap or a towel, and let it soak in your heating pad, and let that absorb as well. Now you do that. A key, and I can't overemphasize this, a key is that you do it, I want to say, past the point of relief. That you, even if you get relief in a few days, you continue to do it. Okay. And then note if you're, if after, does it last a week or 2 weeks or longer, and keep applying it until it's no longer an issue. Okay. This is going to work for many people. So in the KC readings, in the recommendations, it was not one size fits all. They were all individualized. In fact, there's something we say naturopathically, and that is you treat the patient and not the disease. So these can be individualized. Another precautionary note is that you take a little castor oil and you put it on your skin. You test it. So before you saturate the flannel and leave it on your body, just to find out, you may have an adverse reaction, or a negative reaction, or sensitivity to it. And people can. Everybody's different. I cannot say anything that's going to apply universally to all people. But to find out if you're sensitive to it, take a little bit and put it on your hand or something, and then leave it on there for a while. And if you don't have a reaction, you probably will not have a negative reaction if you leave it on there, much less for a time. But you don't want to, again, wait, have hours go past just to realize that you're broken out or something's going on there. Okay. So someone did ask as well. They say, why don't we take it by mouth? Now, taking it by mouth, there are a couple of times. I normally do not recommend that people take it by mouth. One, it's pretty aggressive, it acts more as a purgative, but there are at least 2 applications where you can take some by mouth, and it's typically not a tablespoon full, like perhaps your mom or grandmom and them recommended, but it would be some drops in the mouth. It has more of a purgative action, and that's when there's trauma to the body. Okay. Sometimes it could be severe constipation where you need to get some things moving more quickly. But for the bowels to be lubricated, for the liver to be stimulated, for it to be, it's much, I'll say, it's more beneficial for it to have an more of an ease in terms of its application and usage than doing something quick or aggressively. Okay. It's like if people are taking laxatives, and there are probably many people who are taking laxatives now, for regularity. Some people, we saw tens of thousands of people, over 60,000 people through my holistic health clinic over the years. And many of those people had gotten accustomed to taking laxatives. I remember a woman who was taking 10 laxatives a day in order to get a movement. That's long time a dependency, and there's a problem with that. Your bowels should be able to move on their own. Water plays a role, fiber plays a role, the foods that we eat, of course, plays a role. However, whether or not we're relaxed in our daily affairs, if we're under stress, there are some things that will cause people to be constipated. And sometimes there are bowel abnormalities as well. Sometimes there are obstructions or adhesions, or there's surgery and scar tissue. So castor oil will help with many of these things. It won't necessarily address everything that a person is going through. Okay, so we covered and talked about the immune system, digestive system, nervous system, and the musculoskeletal system. If you have aches elsewhere, you can rub it on there. Some people, skin conditions, rashes, people, work with their hands or even had injuries, and they may even take that and wrap it up and put it on there. Now, of course, I've got, I think this is a yard, a half a yard or something like that. But you can cut this down the size depending on where it is. So you smaller pad, still saturated. You use on the hands, or it could be on the hands, feet. The other applications that were recommended by Casey and others who use this therapeutically are massaging it, using it along with massage as well. Now, I wouldn't use it as primarily a massage oil because it's thick. It may be used with it. So you'd have a carrier oil or a different type of oil. Peanut oil is one that has been used very successfully. George Washington Carver was one who probably really popularized the use of the peanut oil and gave peanut oil rubs. And they said, some said they didn't know if it was because of the peanut oil or because of his massaging that made a difference. I would contend that it's both. And that's another reason why I say healers in every home and every family. When you have someone who loves you, cares for you, and extends that energy towards you, they're praying for you, or you're in alignment, they have your best interest at heart. That intention makes a difference. In fact, there's a study that based on this as well, I may share in a subsequent video. This is when one person touches another with the intention of helping or healing, then healing occurs. So it's not just the oil, it's who's delivering it. It's the intention behind it. And it is also the belief of the person as well. One of my first instructors was actually, he was a minister, and he had done extensive travel, and he was, studying these different things. And so that was kind of my introduction to it. It was kind of an eclectic class on what we call healing and pain therapy. But he would say, One, you don't touch a person or try to heal them without their permission. Okay? You ask people if they want to be helped. So guess what? I never work with people. I never impose what I do on someone else. And I recommend that those of you, whether friends, relatives, or whatever, don't impose your beliefs or whatever on someone else. Um, if you look at the accounts of the healing by Jesus, whether you're Christian or not, when there was healing that occurred, he said, it is by your faith that you've been healed. So a person's faith, their belief, their connection. Naturopathically, someone once said, in order for true healing to occur, that the practitioner has to believe in what they're doing, and the person has to believe in the practitioner. Okay, so that's another reason why healing in home. One of the reasons why when your mother kissed you, hugged you, gave you soup or a tea or something, and it worked. Okay, she might have just laid her hand on you or hugged you and said, you're going to feel better, and you felt better, was because of that connection. Okay, the healing occurs with that connection, that physiological changes occur when we touch another with that intention, which we are utilizing our energy to uplift their energy. Okay, and that's a part of the equation. All right, so that's why we need, mothers are healing, mothers and aunts, and anyone can be a healer. Really, we all have the ability to heal within us. We just need to express it. We need to understand it. And then the more we learn about the body and these things, the more we'll be able to do that, and the more empowered we'll be, and the better results that we're going to get. Okay, because a lot of the chronic ailments are because of diet and lifestyle, because of what we eat, what we think, what we do, okay, or do not do. And that's not something that's going to be changed in a hospital, clinic, or anything like that. Okay, so use of peanut oil, using it as in conjunction with massage oil. There's some other products, and some of these products are really unusual. I'll have to I'll make some things available through the website or through some of the courses or something that that are used as well. But the let's see, the use of Epsom salts in baths was very important part of this as well, for cleansing, for detoxification, for hydrotherapy, for relaxation. A lot of people are rushing around so much they don't even take time to take a bath and to soak in a bath. Okay, so when you utilize Epsom salts, when you elevate the body's temperature, when you use steams and saunas and those types of things, those are therapeutic applications. Even using heat and cold alternatively will help to bring nutrients to the skin and help to stimulate the body, help to stimulate the immune system, so we get better and better. Okay. There are some other things that kind of go along with this as well. I'm going to take some of the questions as well. Did you notice the release? Okay, so there's one question about the release of toxins through the bowels or urine after applying the packs. Well, let's see, to notice it, first of all, toxins are by definition poisons. It's not just, and the way that the body releases it through the liver, I mean, if it's really eliminating gallstones or something, you will tend to see those more distinctly. It's, unless you have some way of testing it, it's difficult to identify actual toxins that are being released. Some things have a particular odor or something, but it's pretty difficult to notice, to identify that. In the urine, is the urine going to turn darker color or something like that? I don't know that's necessarily going to happen. There are some urine tests or urine analysis. In fact, someone needs to tap me on the shoulder and ask me about the bowel toxicity. There is something called the bowel toxicity test that's done through the urine that will give a measure of toxicity in the body. That's not something that's not commonly used or applied, but it is something that could be made available. The That's some really good question. Okay, let's see. The Placing the wrap on the face or to help the eyes. Well, I don't know that people are actually putting the wrap on the face itself. When people want to apply it to the skin, because it does have some very good fatty acids. Generally, people are rubbing it onto the face. Now, the skin on the face compared to the tissues that are the muscles and everything else that are on tissues in elsewhere in the body, it's not very dense in here. So penetration, you don't need a whole lot to penetrate the skin of the face. And because the skin on the face can be pretty sensitive, I'd be very careful. I would just take the castor oil and put it on there. Typically, people rub it on the face. They may rub it on the ears. And when you're doing that, there are also some reflex points or some acupuncture points on the ears that can be stimulated as well. You can massage and use it around here. You've got drainage points. So one, you've got it in for sinuses, you can use it here and massage and stroke that down. If you press here, you may notice that if it's sensitive, if it's painful for you to press here, either side or both of them, you've got some sinus congestion there. And massaging, stroking, and using the castor oil can be beneficial for that. You massage that all the way here, around here. I would even do the jawline, up under here, behind the ears, there's a point, and down here where it'll drain. So you're intentional stroking that. You don't always have to do it hard. I would go gentle before I would even go deeper and then allow that to drain. You can also use a saline solution, do a nasal flush, which would be good. You can use a neti pot, but sometimes I just take a dropper that I've used or flush that out, and put salt and some water in there. Not too high concentration, not so much that your eyes is causing you to cry. The eyes are watering, but enough to stimulate the sinus passages and release some of that mucus. And then you notice if it's clear mucus, if it's clear, if it's white, or if it's darker, if there's an infection process or something going on there. So, but get familiar with your body. It's really important that you know what your body feels like and what's going on and where, and you don't just accept, okay, I just got allergies or something going on. So yes, on the face. Now on the eyes, generally you're putting it on not directly into the eyes, but on the eyelids. And there are some testimonials or cases, and there have been some case studies. In fact, there was a Dr. McGarry, I believe his name was, who was a medical doctor, and he was looking at the application of this with patients over a number of years. He's since passed, but he worked with the KC recommendations as well, because it's a natural product, there have not been a lot of scientific studies done on that. Not like on drugs and other things that generate much more that you can get a patent on. So you won't necessarily find as much science on this as you will what some would call anecdotal evidence on it. But our people are not overdosing on castor oil. It's the other stuff that we have problems with. What about the use of castor oil paired rosemary, pumpkin seed? I can't tell you really much about that with hair growth. I've seen some of the studies, some of the testimonials and things in regards to hair growth. I don't have any personal experience with that. My hair grows pretty well, and haven't been using castor oil on my hair. I might do that because my hair tends to be a little dry. And then someone asked about black castor oil. You got black castor oil. You have the Jamaican castor oil. From what I understand, that's very good. And typically the more color that it has in there and where you get certain products from does make a difference, because the soil conditions, the sun, and everything else contributes to the healing property. So there's something called racinoleic acid that's in there that is part of the the beneficial fatty acids or oil that that's contained in there. I would think that with the darker, and this is more my assumption, that the darker the black castor oil is probably more nutrient rich. I don't have information to substantiate that. Get back with me on it, or hit me up on holisticguru@gmail.com. The rosemary pumpkin seed. There's something else that I want to share, and I don't have a bottle before me, but there's something called oil of oregano. And I'll tell you, anybody who's been with me, heard me over the past 20, 25 years or so, know that I'm really high on and on recommending oil of oregano, particularly by North American Urban Spice. There's at least one other source that's very good, but by North American Urban Spice, I know about it's wildcrafted, it's pure, it works really well, and I've not had anybody complain of the side effects like getting headaches or some negative reactions from something else that's cheaper and not authentic. This has actually been studied. They published some studies on this. I think some of that information was suppressed actually, but it's very good antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. So if I had something really insidious going on, I may take the castor oil and put in a little of the oil of oregano. Now that stuff is really powerful. It's really it's got a strong odor as well. It's quite penetrating. It comes in a liquid. You can also get it in capsule, but I would take a little bit of that and mix it with the castor oil and put it in place as well. Okay. For severe forms of inflammation, I may even add some turmeric along with the castor oil. Now, if you do that, you put those two together, you're going to have an orange pad instead of the virgin lighter color here. But the turmeric is an excellent anti-inflammatory herb. So, can you use castor oil in addition to some other things? Yeah, you can. Can you do some detoxification? Absolutely. And there are ways to detox. A lot of things people say and attribute and say this a detox are not really detox. I heard somebody say, "Oh, you take some fiber and that's a detox." That's not a detox. Just because you move your bowels, that's not detoxification. That's not targeting the organs of elimination and getting toxins or poisons out of the tissue and then out of the body. That's another call. Or another recording that I need to do on the detoxification, because that's anybody who went to or knows about Detroit Holistic Center knows that's primarily what we specialize in for over 30 years and over 60,000 people with great results. The castor oil pair, okay, and then a session on the liver. Yeah, liver is key in terms of whatever you do there, and so again, we have to talk about that another time. What type of heating pad should be used? There is a chemical, electronic, and hot water bottle. Well, here's the thing about the hot water bottle, because you will find that some things will say use a hot water bottle. Hot water bottle, nice. You can get it hot, but how long is it going to stay hot compared to the 90 minutes or so, the length of time that you need it to heat or keep the castor oil warm for absorption is hard to compare. What I say is absolutely do not use a microwave. Don't microwave to heat up the oil or use this in the process. But a heating pad, I use the heating pad. I recommend that. Now, this is to facilitate that. If you don't want to use the heating pad because you think of because of the concern about about EMFs or the electricity and whatever it is serving the body, fine. Allow your body's own heat to facilitate the absorption. So you might even have it on there a little bit longer, but typically, again, in the cases where there's not inflammation, a heating pad would be indicated. Can use it along with taking aloe vera and that sort of thing. Sure. Yeah. In fact, that's why I said a holistic program or protocol would mean that Some other things that could be added along with this, some other things that are key, is that when you're doing a castor oil pack, and in fact, when you're doing some healing treatments, your environment, are you relaxed? Are you breathing? Are you in more of a meditative or calm state? Some people read scripture or do something that affirms their healing. They might even listen to something that's meditative or something that is that affirms their healing. That environment, those things ritualistically, the whole thing comes along with that. So in many of our traditional healing practices, is just like praying over food. There's praying that goes along with whatever goes on. Again, it's that intention. What are you doing? What are you thinking? What state of mind are you in? Okay. Don't drink alkaline water or have an alkaline diet in an acidic mentality or conversation or lifestyle. Okay. It needs to be congruent. The more things that you do that help your health and wellness, the better. It's a program. It's what you do all the time. Okay, not just what you do some of the time. So don't expect this to be a miracle. Okay, you can eat and drink and do whatever. You can do drugs and all the sugar and all the alcohol that you want, and all you have to do is sweat it out or take some castor oil. That's not how this is intended. How often should you replace the cloth? Very good. So one, as I mentioned, it is stable there. I haven't found exact guidelines on how often you would replace it. You can put it in the refrigerator. So you have some say, okay, you put it in the refrigerator in between uses. You could take it and put it in a Ziploc bag or something and store it in there. And you use that castor oil, that flannel for one person. So it doesn't go from person to person. Okay, you can use different parts of the body for with that flannel, but it doesn't go from person to person. You have your own. Every person would have their own castor oil pack, and then you got to use your say your own judgment on that. If I get some more information on it, and you get our newsletter, or keep in touch on some of the social media, as I get some more information, I'll let you know about that. But I haven't had any. You do it for a month or 6 visits or etc. It's not going to get rancid that quickly, but before it gets foul, something, then you can change it out. And it's relatively inexpensive. This is one of the least expensive ways to help those systems of the body that I can think of. Okay, so it's not a huge investment. Some things cost quite a bit, so it has a broad range of usage with relatively little cost. And then usage to, okay, now reducing and eliminating. So fibroids are something that's been addressed in some of the recommendations as well. The fibroids and other challenges with the reproductive system, that would be in the lower part of the abdomen. So one, castor oil packs. Two, on the affected on the abdominal area, and you repeat that. So one is good to when you've been diagnosed, and ideally you've been diagnosed, with with fibroids, and they measure them. I would say, on that, I would stick more to the a more aggressive or assertive approach, which would mean more like 5 out of 7 days, about an hour of the pack applied 5 out of 7 days over a longer period of time. Now, if there's heavy bleeding and some other things that are going on, you may notice those symptoms improve before there's a sizable difference in terms of the size of the fibroids. But it has been applied for fibroids and other concerns of the reproductive system as well. Let's see, the use of oil of oregano for illness only. Good question about the use of oil of oregano. It is if there's not a chronic condition or something going on, um, you can use it to, you can use a little bit of it on a regular basis. However, it is so powerful. It's more, think of it more like an antibiotic. You don't take antibiotics every day. So it's not so much of a preventive. Now, if there is a underlying fungus infection or something that's going on, use it until it's resolved. You may even use it for a couple of weeks or so to the stint or to get you through something challenging. But it's not a nutrient. It's not a tonic, a nutrient that you would use on a regular basis. You can use teas. Do use your mint teas, use your echinacea, um, use some things that help in the build and for that are good for the respiratory system and doing some cleansing. You can do those fairly often. Teas are dilute, and you could probably I would say use those more liberally. Get your nutrients in. Make sure you're getting vitamin D and exposure to the sun. Um, get your use foods as your base, and then herbs as your supplements, and then your more powerful cleansers occasionally. Spring, summer, winter, fall is when you should be changing with the seasons, changing your diet and doing some cleansing. Not all the time. Cleansing isn't an all the time process. I mean, the body is eliminating, but it's not something you're doing all the time. You're not purging all the time.